What's up, everybody? Do you sometimes have some deep philosophical questions about life, maybe
Yes.
existential questions about life that you want answered by two people who record episodes and then post them on YouTube and podcasting services?
Yes.
Well, you're in luck because today's
It's very
episode,
specific.
I didn't want to disappoint.
Yeah.
Well, you're in luck because today's episode, we are answering some of the best existential questions according to this website. We'll post a link down in the show notes description.
Yeah.
This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
Yeah, so this is pretty exciting because there's actually a few different lists on here. There's the best existential questions, there's the deepest existential questions, there's the funniest existential questions.
Yeah.
So we may have some episodes coming up in the future because I think, me personally, I think answering the funniest ones would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it would be good. I'd like to come back to it again later too, because there's
Okay.
also like too many to do in one thing anyway.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you
Yeah.
want to be deep and thorough and all that stuff. So I
Yeah,
guess
that's true.
without further ado, let's just get into it and start
Yeah.
answering some
I'm into
questions.
it.
Oh, and by the way, guys, these are our opinions. We're not perfect. If you get triggered by any of this stuff, get over yourself. 100 years, we're all gonna be dead anyways. So like,
That
this
is
is for
true.
fun and maybe
Yeah.
for learning. Okay. So question number one. What is the meaning of life?
We started off easy.
I think it's like 47. Is that the answer from
42. Wasn't it 42?
42?
Yeah, it's 40.
42.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Yep, that's pretty much it. I think I always kind of laugh when people ask that question because it's like as if there's one single meaning. Like
Yeah.
here's why I say that. So I like to read biographies because I learn a lot from them. But sometimes, particularly two of them that I've read, have been like so difficult to read because the person's views were very, very different from mine. But I just read it anyways because I was like, that'll grow my mind by actually
Yeah.
reading this stuff and seeing it. So one of them was like that was very, very difficult to read was the autobiography of Malcolm X because he was very convinced that there was one truth for everybody.
Yeah.
And like everybody in the world, there's one truth. And he was very convinced that he knew that truth and that he had to like forcefully impose that truth on other people. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So like when I laugh when I get this question, like, what's the meaning of life? As if there's only one meaning for all billions of people that are alive
Yeah.
right now and the billions more that have survived for all eternity.
Well, I think that's the problem. Like when we ask these questions, because they're like, when you ask like what's the meaning of life, it's kind of vague and ambiguous, but it also assumes that there's an answer. It's not like is there, it's what is, right? And
Mm,
if you say life, are we talking about like all existence, my life, everyone's lives, humanity? And I think this is one of the difficulties though, because we make an assumption and then people fill it in. I do think people that do like Malcolm X, people that do believe there is one answer or one overall meaning or purpose or whatever tend to be usually very like motivated and driven, whereas for better or worse, it's not always a good thing. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there is one. I mean, I don't think there is any, you know, absolute or definitive meaning. I think we make it, and that's all there is.
well,
Yeah.
that's what I was just thinking about. So like this question, I look at it, it's like a very defeating question. Like, what's the meaning of life? Why does my life not have meaning? Why do I feel worthless? Like that's the same type of rabbit hole I see when I see this question. Whereas
Yeah.
instead, if you switch that question around and you can be like, how can I give my life meaning? All of a sudden you have an empowering question that can
Yeah.
actually help your life go somewhere.
No, it's true. I mean, we all want to make our lives intelligible, right? We all want to make sense. We all hope to like our experiences, what happens to us. We want to understand it and put it into like, some frame of reference. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it can be very defeating asking that, like assuming that there is one in it. Like for some reason, like either you don't have access to it or it's like doesn't include you or something, right? I think instead, asking like, how can I make my life meaningful? What makes my life meaningful? What's meaning, what gives my life value, whatever, right? That can change it and we can make it our own, which I think is way better. I think it's one of the
Mm.
things I liked about existentialists too, is a lot of them, thought we just die and there's nothing else. And so that kind of frees us to do what we want. And there is no truth. There's no absolute truth. So we can make our own truth.
Well, we were talking about that earlier this week, how like the how we're all going to die, so our lives are kind of like these flowers that have a little bit of beauty for the short time that they're here, and then we're gone.
Yeah.
But that beauty is up to us to actually like develop, and it kind of gives us the freedom to just be whoever we want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's right for the existentialists. I think that is the answer. It's like authenticity, or being yourself, being you. But we all struggle with that. It's super hard, and I think that's why we ask for meaning, because it would be, in a certain sense, right? If the meaning was outside of us, it would be easier. All we would have to do is know it. And then, oh, now we know, right? We have it. We can, put ourselves in a context or in a situation. But like, really, it's not outside.
I kind of laugh as I get older, because like this whole thing about being yourself, like when I was a kid, I knew what that was. I had it spot on when I was a kid, and then I spent my whole entire like early adulthood trying to be something different than what I was.
Yeah.
And then now I'm just back at the same spot, playing, like painting little miniatures and reading fantasy books and like doing all the stuff that I did as a kid, because I love that and that's me. But now I don't feel like the guilt associated with not being cool or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's like you are yourself, and then you find society and like whatever, and then you lose yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and if you're lucky, you find yourself again. Yeah.
So that brings us to question number 2. What's your purpose in life? And I think they're asking you specifically, Danny. What's your purpose in life?
Me? Mine? It's a tough one. Yeah, this is another tough question, because like, again, like, do we? Well, I guess it's funny. Like, do we want to?
I have an answer.
Okay, go ahead. That's why I'm thinking.
Okay, so this is something. My belief is this is something you have to figure out on your own. Like, I think that kind of like how for those of you who know trees that have acorns, like inside of that acorn is another tree. You have to plant it in the ground. It needs to get sunlight and water and all that stuff. But inside of that acorn is the potential for another tree. So I kind of think that like inside of all of us, we actually have all the dreams and desires of our heart already come into fruition. It's just kind of up to us to actually develop that. So when I look at that question, what's your purpose in life? It's actually the realization of your deepest desires. Like, I think that's exactly what your purpose is.
Creating like the right like environment, the right nourishment, all that to then make that. Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. I like that one.
And I also look at it like you already have everything you need inside of you. You just need to discover it. It's like there's this story of a guy who bought a plot of land down in Texas, and he'd been living on that land for like 15 years, barely scraping by. It was unfarmable. Like, he was in poverty for years and years and years. And then this oil company came in and asked if they could dig on his land. They'd give him a portion of the proceeds. Turns out it was the biggest oil derrick in history. Nice. Overnight, he became like a multi-billionaire. And it's like, when was he a billionaire? When they found the oil, or when he actually purchased the land years before and he just didn't know it? And so I look at that as like our potential. So we all have this potential to be absolutely amazing, but it's like, when are we going to realize that potential?
I like that. Yeah. I would say something similar. Like, I think it's, our purpose, at least ideally, should be right, living our best life and realizing ourselves. I think because, we only know what we can do, what we're capable of once we do it, right? You have to actually do things in the world to realize like what powers you possess or what abilities you possess. I think that's part of our purpose, is just kind of like, reaching our full development as human beings, not limiting ourselves, not letting ourselves stagnate, not, letting ourselves get stuck, because we're problem solving beings and we're meaning making creatures. We create meaning, we solve problems. And I think that's kind of what we need to do. We just need to be active and do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So the next question we have here is, do you have a right to be happy, or should you earn it?
Ooh. This is interesting, because it's like, is it just something that everybody should ultimately just have, or is there something you should have to do? I think I would actually side, I think, a little bit more with earn, in the sense that I think that, yeah, I think everybody can be happy, but it's something that you have to put some work in, because there's a lot of things that are going to be contrary to your happiness or work against it, and you have to find your way to that path of happiness and allow
Yeah.
yourself. I think you have to allow yourself to be happy too.
Mm,
And that's the
that's
other
true.
difficult thing.
I agree with you there 100%. I don't think that anybody has a right to be happy, because this whole idea of having a right to something just makes a bunch of entitled people, and that's a huge problem we're dealing with in America right now. Is everybody's entitled? They think that
Yeah.
they deserve everything just because they were born to whatever. But I also look at this question as, should you earn it, as actually an important thing, because happiness is something that's kind of in the progress. So I was telling you about the book that I was reading, and towards the end, like, I really liked how he described where happiness comes from. So I'm just going to share that here.
Yeah,
He
go
says
for it.
that happiness comes from doing things you love, having meaningful relationships, helping people, working towards a goal, and being at peace with yourself. And what I see from that is a lot of those things are things that are in the process. They're actually earning, which is
Yeah.
what we were just talking about with this question. So,
Yeah.
like, working towards a goal, that's something that you're earning. You're in the process.
Yeah.
Okay. Doing things you love, generally, that's a process. You're earning it. Even though you're doing something you love, it's not a static thing, really. Having meaningful relationships, that's something you're constantly earning, that's constantly
Yeah.
changing. So, like, helping people, again, something you're earning. So all this stuff associated with happiness. Number one, notice how he didn't have money on the list. And this is a
No.
guy who's like 100 millionaire. Okay. But all these things are like earning. They're all processes. And then also there's being at peace with yourself, which is probably the only static one there, which is just like
But that's not
accepting
really
yourself
static
as you
though.
are.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that still takes work every day too, though. That's something that still is. I think what's interesting is they're all active, right? It's an active life. Aristotle
Mm,
said that, that a good life is an active life. Like we have to be doing things, not just like stagnant sleeping, whatever. And I think you make a good point. When we think of these things in terms of like entitlement or in terms of like rights, sometimes it really does diminish the role of the individual in their own life, right? It's your life. So, yeah, you have to allow yourself to be happy, but you also have to be active to have it.
mhm. And plus, when you earn it, it feels so much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then you're like,
Because it's
I went
yours.
through all that
Yeah.
stuff. I went through all that stuff, and then I got here. This is incredible. Whereas
Yeah.
when you just get it without earning it, you take advantage of it.
Yeah. You don't even realize what you have, too. That's the other thing.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of like you don't even notice it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Good one.
Next question. What are the universal human rights?
Yeah.
I think there's only one:
What do you think it is? Go ahead.
the right to die. Like,
I,
okay.
okay.
This,
Go ahead.
this
Go
is
ahead. Yeah.
something, when I was reading it, I was like, my answer might trigger some people, and that's totally fine. I'm okay with it. Because again, I
Whatever.
don't think that people have any rights whatsoever. Like, I think it's messed up that people do a lot of the bad things they do to people, but thinking that you actually have this unalienable right is just messed
Yeah.
up, because guess what? You don't. Like, I mean, you may
No.
have it in America, but you go to some other countries, you're not going to have the same thing
You
there.
don't have it in America either.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just
No.
promised it.
Yeah.
Okay. You're
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
promised
Don't.
it in America, but so, like, the thing is, I don't think there are universal rights, but I think there are things that you should definitely work for, and you should have these boundaries for yourself, that if somebody violates that, you're going to go full throttle against them. And then, like, my answer to this is, yeah, you have the right to die, because everybody's going to die. You know what? There's not a single person alive who isn't going to die. So that's your right. You have the right to live while you live, but then die. That's it.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Dane?
No, I actually agree with you. I don't think yeah, I don't like talk of this. Like I get conceptually like and like when you're talking like in a political arena and stuff, like when like the UN Declaration of Human Rights or whatever, like they're nice things to say, right? Or they're like it's like an ideal thing that like we're saying, okay, we commit to maybe trying to make this happen or something, right? Because all those countries that signed that, none of them were there either. These things don't just exist, but there's something that like both we as individuals and collectively have to work towards if we want them, right? That if we want a world where this is the case, we actually have to do stuff. It's not just guaranteed. It's not just given to us, and that's clear because of the way the world is, right?
Well, it's kind of like double speak. We make this stuff up because it's not true. And it's in the Tao Te Ching, he says, if you take away morality, people will be good. And it's just like,
yeah.
it's one of these things that's only there because it's not true. And so we have to say, this is how things should be because they're not this way. So it just doesn't make sense. We'll go on to the
It's
next
like,
question.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with like thinking about how things could be better, because that means, you're thinking about how you could change it. But like the problem is that when you think of them as like guaranteed and stuff like this or universal, I think people don't realize that they have to be made. They have to be preserved. They have to, like, if this is the world you want, you have to make it, and you also have to contribute to it, and you also have to,
You have
preserve
to
it and all.
enforce it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like a lot of stuff. So yeah, I agree with you.
All right.
Yeah.
Question number 5 is
All right.
happiness just chemicals circulating through our bodies?
Ooh, I would actually say, does it matter? Anyway, who
That's a
cares?
good question.
Because
Or good
because I
answer.
think because I think even if it is, because this is a big, question of philosophy, which is like, is everything just neurons firing or chemical processes or whatever? But like, even if it is, it doesn't matter, because there's the other layer of our reality, which is our conscious layer, which interprets things. So even if that is the case, I don't think it actually matters. And I think, yes, like, and I think we also have examples too, where it seems like you can do things to give yourself temporary pleasure, like with chemical reactions. You can get high, you can work out real hard, you can do these things that give you a release. But there's also a difference between that and like the long-term, like, well-being, positive mindset, like mental health that comes with, like, I think that's sort of like peace with yourself and like happiness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I really like your answer there. Doesn't even matter, because what it made me think of is like, this is not the question that a happy person asks.
Yeah,
When you're
no.
happy, you're not wondering, is this feeling just chemicals running? When
It's
you
just
ask that
fake.
question, you ask that question when you're like looking for antidepressants to be like, could this make me happy? Like that's the
Yeah,
type of
yeah.
question that you get then. But then the other thing that I also have to say about that question is it's somewhat misleading, because it has this whole concept of like uh self versus other, or us versus them. Because
Yeah.
it's like, is happiness just chemicals circulating through our body? Well, based on science, yeah. But guess what? How did those chemicals start circulating there? Was it because you were having meaningful relationships with other
Yeah.
people? Well, what says that's outside of you? Being how we're all just stardust and flying through space
Yeah.
at some ridiculous speed. So, like, all this thing that is just this thing that's just circulating through here. Well, how
Yeah.
did that come about?
No, you make a good point though. It's like the nature versus nurture argument, right? Like, you can't separate the two, because we're both. We are the thing, right? So we are the chemical processes as well as the thinking thing on top of it. So it doesn't matter either way, right? It is, yeah, then it's still happiness, I guess. But like, what's the difference?
Uh, there's
Yeah.
this funny little meme right here, or maybe not a meme, but it's John Lennon. It's a quote from him.
Hmm.
It says, "When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. I told them they didn't understand life."
Yeah.
All right.
You
Next
know,
question. Yeah,
okay.
go on.
Yeah, let's go. No, I was
No,
gonna,
go
I was
on.
just gonna say it's funny that it is kind of funny that like everybody wants to be happy, but that's not something we like actually give any time to like when we're growing up, and like to education or anything, because nobody really knows how to do it. Like,
Well,
whatever. But
it's also something that we everybody wants to be happy, and we assume it's somewhere outside of ourselves. We assume it's somewhere not where we are right now. And
yeah,
so, like,
yeah,
one exercise that I like is like, how am I happy right now? Because
that's a good one.
there's always some little hint of it. And whenever I forget and I'm really struggling, I just look around my room and I see all these things that I wanted
I was
so
just gonna say
badly,
that.
and
Yeah,
then now I have them, and I'm like,
yeah.
what's wrong? How could I not be happy? This is incredible.
All these things that I wanted for all that time, now I have them. But like because you're focused on the what you don't have rather than what you actually have, right? Just like
Mhm.
gratitude's so important because it's a reminder of what you have rather than what you don't. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
consumerism's a bitch.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I know, right? Next question, and we'll just blow through these fast to get to some other questions. But
Yeah,
are
yeah.
human ethics learned or natural?
Learned.
Yeah,
If real
I
at all.
agree. I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Okay, cool. Next question, we'll just blow through this one too.
Yep.
Is there a God?
No, and it depends on it, or it
He's-
depends on how you interpret it, I guess. But no.
uh, I would say yes. I'm totally
Okay, go
100%
ahead.
yes. Yeah. I just
I would.
for
I
me,
think it's perspective. You know what I mean? Like I think
yep.
I don't think it's a god like any of the people have claimed that it is a god so far, thus far. Maybe
Yeah.
that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does. It could be different for all different people, and all religions could be 100% correct. I definitely don't prescribe to that. I definitely don't prescribe to the mean God mentality, like the Old Testament
Yeah, it doesn't
type
make
of
any
God.
sense. You
No,
know?
but I do prescribe to like the God loves you type of thing.
Well,
Like
if
you're
God
his
was, I mean,
child.
the mean
Yeah.
God, it's like, well, why'd you bother creating everything anyway? You knew it was going to happen. What the hell, man?
Right. Yeah.
You know, what kind of
Yeah.
sociopath are you? That you
Yeah.
create everything, know it's going to happen, and do it
Hmm.
anyway, and then just get mad at everything that you created because it was
Yeah.
subpar. Don't
I
blame the
know,
thing you
right?
created, blame the workman, you know?
Right? Yep. Yeah. But like I know personally that once I started believing myself, my life in general just got better and easier. It took a lot of the weight off of myself. And maybe it's just a psychological thing, but I'm of the firm belief that if it works for you, do it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, you know what's funny? What really works for me is just not answering some of these things. Like, I don't actually
Hmm.
believe in truths, like objective truths, and I'm very, like, you know, I guess hazy in that area, but I also find that, like, not committing to anything actually works for me since it does.
Yeah.
Leave it open. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, it's different. It's
No
different for
idea.
everybody. Like
Yeah.
I mean, from all the other questions, we all have this subjective experience is different
Yeah.
for everybody. So we can't have one answer for everybody. Which
Yeah.
brings us to the next question.
Yeah, this is good, right?
Yeah. Where do we go when we die?
I don't know.
Well, I would say the
Or
cemetery
yeah, that too. Wherever you
or
choose
the
in that
place where
sense.
they burn your body, whatever that's called.
What
Yeah.
is what is we though in this sense too? Is it the physical body or is it the that goes back to that happiness question, the chemical thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of one of those questions where it depends on your beliefs.
All
Like
these things depend on
I mean they
your
say
everything.
even according to science they say that like all no matter is created or destroyed, it's just kind of recycled. So
Yeah.
then because you have to look at it the opposite way. Like let's say there were bodies and souls, okay? And then all
Yeah.
these people have been dying throughout history. And if the soul part isn't recycled, because we know the body's recycled, it just goes back into the
Yeah.
earth and gets churned back up and turns into a
Yeah, it would
tree.
stand to reason,
But
right? Yeah.
yeah, but if the souls don't get recycled, like where's the landfill with all the souls? You know,
Yeah.
this we're
Yeah.
gonna just run out of space sometime. So like,
That
wouldn't it
is
make
true.
sense for it to be recycled? But
It's interesting too though, because we are recycled. Like if you go back into everything. So in a sense, there's a party that still exists afterwards, right? On Earth, just
mhm.
in not the same form.
Yeah, and it probably doesn't have this like reasoning thinking part that we
No.
associate with. It could be different. But that's the crazy part is that this reasoning thinking part that you think is you probably doesn't go on, but the you that actually is you probably
Yeah.
does go on.
Yeah.
Which is
That
yeah,
makes
it's
the whole thing yeah, it's very strange. It is
yeah,
weird.
it's a yeah. Okay, next question. Is one lifetime enough?
This one's interesting actually, because I think, you only have one. I think it can be. I think that's
Unless you
true. I
believe you
think,
have others, because we're not here to
yeah,
tell people.
that's true. Right. We're not here to tell you what to believe. No, but I think it maybe like if it's done right, yes. Or
Yeah.
done very poorly, yes.
Then definitely yes.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
Yeah. It's all you want. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you know what? I think that it's actually like I find value in only having one lifetime. I think
Mm.
if I had others, I wouldn't value this one, and I would probably just be a complete degenerate.
Well, yeah, right. And like, it's also that problem of the it's like the immortality problem too, right? That it's the shortness, the brevity. Like, yeah, we all want more time, obviously, and that's fine. But if it really were like infinite, like one life infinitely, like it would just get, I mean, after a time, like you'd probably be looking for ways to try and end your life rather than continue. And if you
Yeah.
knew that you had infinite lives, like you just kept going, like at some point, I don't know, it would just get, yeah, it would probably become too much to like conceptualize or handle.
Yeah. Alan Watts actually had something along these
Yeah.
lines where he was saying how like there's a good chance that we're all just gods because like let's say that you were omniscient and omnipresent and everything. So you literally live out every fantasy you've ever had. You've done everything you could possibly do. And then you just get super bored with life. So the only thing left to do would be like, well, what would happen if I couldn't see into the future and I wasn't powerful?
And
What
I
would life be
died.
like
Yeah.
then? Yeah, and I died.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then you would be an ordinary mortal. And it's just like, so there's a good chance we
That's
all
it.
are gods. Yeah,
It is interesting. Yeah. I like that.
yeah. All right. So the next one is humanity going in the right or wrong direction?
Oh, good question. Depends on what you mean by right or wrong here, and if there is a right or wrong. I don't know that there is. I think we're going in a direction, and I think that
Yeah.
direction is influenced by a lot. It's funny. These questions always have this like underlying assumption that there is a clear like oppositional thing, like yes or no, and or it's a simple answer, and it's like, well, everything's so complicated and complex, and everything's influenced by the past. Maybe we can't go in any other direction than we're going now. Maybe this is the only one possible.
Well,
you know?
that's a good point because this question is asking, is humanity going right or wrong? And the answer would
Yeah,
be yes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess one of them.
Yes. Or maybe
Yep,
both. I mean, there are certain things that are getting better. There are
it's a
certain things that
logical
are
horse,
getting
so it could
worse.
be.
But when you look at it, like life really hasn't been much better. This is like the pinnacle of human existence. We're living there.
But again though, like we don't because we don't even know where it goes either. It just is. It is not right or wrong. It's doing what it's doing. And I think this
Hmm.
gets back to like if you this gets back to I think to the individuals, taking part in it if they think it should, actively participating. They think it should be something else.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this brings us to the next question, since we don't
Oh,
know
it
where
does.
we're going.
Okay.
Will the human race go extinct?
I mean, probably at some point. I
I would
guess,
say
yeah.
100% chance yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
right? Like at some point it's gonna happen.
100% chance yes.
Because I mean, the universe is going to go through some magnificent change at some point. The sun will blow out. Like, I mean, eventually something's going to happen, right?
Well, we were talking about this past week, how you know I like to listen to the meditations by Marcus Aurelius because they give me some peace of mind and some perspective. And like here's he literally was the Elon Musk of his time. Okay. The
More than
richest,
that,
the
even
most
really.
powerful, the most well-known. Yeah.
But he
But he
also he actually
literally
had like literally control of everything too. Like, I think he was even more powerful of like the
right.
known. More, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And here was this guy who literally was like the alpha human being of his time. And he's gone. All that we have is his book. And guess what? When we're gone, nobody's going to remember him. He's going to
yeah.
be he's going to be gone. Like everything that the most powerful person in the entire world for however long, he's just going to be gone. Nothing. Gone.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah.
What's crazy too? The dinosaurs were around for like 250 million years. We've been around for like what 300,000.
Yeah.
So you really think about it, it's like that's crazy. They were around for 250 million. They had this whole thing to themselves, and they gone.
Yeah, that's crazy too.
Yeah.
But fortunately, they're coming back. I saw this movie where they're taking DNA from a
Oh, nice,
mosquito and they're putting it into
nice.
some
Yeah,
reptiles, and we're gonna have dinosaurs
I
again.
heard they were working on that. That looked
It's
cool.
got to be
Yeah,
true because they can't make that stuff up in movies.
no,
Right.
it looks
Uh,
real too.
yeah. Okay. Next question. This is kind of an interesting opinion piece. What would make the world a better place?
You got an answer? Or
I got
give
an
me an answer.
answer.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
My answer is if people would take personal responsibility.
Damn it! I was gonna say if people did the things that they thought would make the world better.
Boom. Well, we agree. We agree.
Yeah.
That because how everybody's looking like, why doesn't Elon Musk make the world better? Why doesn't the government make the world better? And it's like, that's such a stupid question. Why don't I just make the world better? Because if the world's full of a bunch of people like me and we all do that same thing, guess what? The world will be better.
It's funny. It's like we were talking about your that one guy that you knew that was like doing the sketchy stuff, right? Like if
Mhm.
you do things that are problematic that you wouldn't want to happen to you, you're participating and perpetuating that type of activity, so it still exists, right? So it's
Yep.
bound to happen to you then at some point. Like I think, and this goes, like if you want the environment to be better, if you want your community better, you got to do something too. You can't
Yeah.
just wish other people would do it,
I
Yeah.
know. And it's like, that's like, we talk about all these things on this channel all the time. It's like, why is this just not taught at school? Like the simplest concept. I
Dude,
mean, it's the golden rule. Everybody kind of assumes like do unto others, but then people just get sidetracked. They're like, do unto others until you go get your MBA and then just fuck over everybody else to get
yeah,
some more
yeah,
money
that's what you should
because
do.
that'll
Yeah,
make you
yeah.
happy. Yeah.
It is. It's crazy, dude. I think that there's so many factors, and it's like there's so much like conditioning, social conditioning going on and stuff. Like, dude, it's nuts. Like when I teach like applied ethics or like social philosophy, dude, I talk to my students about these big issues, and they're all like, I really wish these things would change and blah blah blah. I'm like, but like I can't do anything. I'm like, well, you could do something. It might not fix it tomorrow, if that's what you mean. Like, or maybe even fix it like entirely at all, but it would be helping. And like if everybody thinks like that, though, then nothing will get better. And it's
Yeah.
like
It
that's just it,
really
though. It's like,
personal responsibility. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a huge one. So the next question, oh, this one could be difficult. What is love? That's like a really hard question.
Yeah, it's
Where's
a
a
super hard question.
dictionary?
I don't know. Like I guess is it just chemical processes in the brain and pheromones? It's I think
It's
it's a
a
lot of things,
feeling.
right?
Yeah. It's
Feeling,
something that all of us crave.
yeah, companionship. It has many forms. It's good. It's nice. It probably contributes to a good life or happiness. Might even be necessary for social creatures.
Uh,
What else?
it feels good, but also it can
Yeah.
feel bad when you don't have it.
It also
Okay,
can be
next
really,
question.
yeah, whatever. Okay, let's move on. We're good.
uh, oh, what must two people have in common to connect? Wow.
Aristotle thought they had to have some like some similarity in character, and whether that meant like either they like were similar with respect to certain virtues or similar in virtuous development, so that they could like both like contribute to each other's like you know basically betterment and cultivation of a better character and self. But I also thought that was interesting. I think though in terms of connection, I think they have to have an interest. They have to have some shared things, right? And like because you have to, they take time. Anytime a connection or a relationship takes time. So yeah,
Yeah. I look at it in my life and I look at it like you have to have an understanding of the person,
yeah,
and then you also have to be I think you have to be like morally somewhat in the same direction. So
yeah,
like
yeah. No, I think that's important. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so I would say those are two things that would be important for me to have a connection with somebody because like and also uh they have to be somewhat invested in me.
yeah, yeah. You have to care about
So
the
like
person for their sake. Like yeah.
yeah, it's not going to be a one-way thing. So I
But
think those
you also have to kind of know the person at least to an extent and want to know them. You know what I mean? Or care about because
yeah.
it has to have care, right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because I've made the mistake of like thinking that I was becoming friends with somebody and then recognizing later that they didn't give a shit about me. And that like really surprised me because I was like, why would you why would you say that you're a friend with somebody if you just don't care about them? Like that was some
Yeah.
crazy stuff. And yeah,
See, I
so
always just assumed we were friends.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, but also like you look at ours and it's very easy.
Yeah.
We're able to talk about a lot of stuff. We care about each other, and
I think that's it. That's an important one too, though, is not guilt tripping people and putting pressure, like that kind of stuff. I don't think is helpful to connection.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Like, but
yeah,
that
because
goes back to
we've been
understanding and
friends
caring, you know.
forever, and there were
Yeah.
some times where we go like months or years without even talking,
We
but
weren't
we're
even in the
still
same
friends.
area, you know, it
Yeah,
happens. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Cool.
important. It's an
All
interesting
right.
one.
Yeah. How much longer you want to go for this? We got 10 more questions left.
Oh man. Um, I don't know. You want to do a couple more, or you want to try
Okay,
and knock them
sounds
all
good.
out, or we do?
Yeah, we can do a couple more.
All right.
Because they're not really what
I
okay,
think we
so
knocked out a lot of really good
I
ones.
think we
Okay.
did. Let's see if there's any like really good ones, and then we'll just go into this.
We want to do 17 and
Yeah. 17.
okay.
What do we need most in this world?
Hmm. See, I think this is an important question because I think we should know what things matter to us because then we know what we need. Like we know our values and we know what is important to us, then we know what we need because those are the same.
Mm, I like that. See, I was thinking what the world needs now is love, sweet love.
That's true too. It
It's the
always
only
does.
thing
Yeah,
that there's
it
just too
is.
little of.
It is too little. I know it's horrible, isn't it?
Man, that's a good song. But
It is
I
a
think
good
there's
stuff.
love. Is that my
Yeah.
honest answer? What do we need most? Again, I don't think that we need anything. Like
No.
I'm pretty sure we're all like
You,
alive and surviving pretty
yeah.
well.
But I was gonna say, just, it's funny. A lot of these questions too, they assume that there's something lacking, or they assume that there's something missing, rather than assuming that this is all of it. Like
Mm,
Nietzsche talks about that a lot, where he says, like, the existence, reality just is. Like life just is. It's not better or worse. It's not, it's not right or wrong. It just is. And if you accept that, you accept that the reality of the situation, right? But when you ask questions like this, it's like making these assumptions that kind of make us miss what's actually going on.
that's a great point because none of these questions is like, how is this moment perfect?
Yeah. Or is it possible for this moment to be any different from what it is now? You
That's a
know?
good one too.
Not what's the evaluation, because they're all evaluative, that's the issue. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're like, why does this suck, and how can I be victimized by
Yeah.
it?
Fucking victimization. God
Yeah.
damn.
Well, that's it.
I
That's
know,
it for the
right?
questions for this one. I think we
Yeah.
covered a lot of them. We went in depth. Uh, what are your takeaways from this? What did you get from answering these questions?
I actually like questions like this because I think it is good to like think and reflect about these things. But like I said, I think it's also tough because I think you have to like ask yourself what is the question also assuming how is it what sort of interpretation is like sort of underlying that question that's sort of forcing an answer or even assuming that there is an answer to it. Like maybe it can't be answered, maybe it doesn't need to be answered, maybe that is actually what it is the case, but like I think a lot of times we kind of cause problems for ourselves because we take these evaluative questions and assume there must be an answer and that it's usually positive, right? And then it makes us feel like we're lacking now, when in fact we might have everything now, or everything might just be whatever it's supposed to be because it just is. That's
That's it.
the Taoist sort of approach.
That's a great point about them actually having an answer. I remember when I was learning the Sedona method, one of the problems that they talked about that people have is we're always trying to figure everything out. And so they would always ask, they would say, could you let go of trying to figure it out? Like most of our problems, we're just trying to figure it out. We're just like stuck in
Yeah,
this rat race of trying to figure it out.
yeah,
And it's like, could you let go of trying to figure it out? And once you let go of that, you're like, ah, okay.
yeah,
Could this moment be any more
yeah.
perfect? All right.
It's like, why am I not happy? Why is this not like this? Well, but it's like what it is, So it's like, you just are either, I don't know. It's just funny. And I think that goes back to what we were saying before. Like we kind of imagine a future state, but we forget about the state we're actually in all the time.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And I love what they were talking about in meditations where he was like, whether you live 1,000 years or you live a day, we're all going to die. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you die 1,000 years out or today, because really the only thing you're ever going to lose is this moment right here. The rest
Yeah.
of it is just an illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
So,
only exist right now, right? I mean,
yeah.
that's just it. Which is
Yeah.
weird when you think about it, because we have all these
It's
memories and
really,
stuff. Because most of our memories aren't even accurate. Like
uh-huh.
they've done studies, like it's like they're so messed. Like just we make up whatever we want, or interpret them however we want, and I think that's interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah. We just live in a dream world. That's all.
We really do. Try and
Yeah.
make it a nice one and a pleasant one.
For sure. For sure. Well, Danny, I gotta say it's been an absolute pleasure doing this with you.
Always
Always
is.
fun to see you every week. Thank you everyone for joining us for this episode of the Existential Stoic podcast. We have 2 episodes a week, so make sure to like, share, subscribe,
We do.
and we'll see you in the next one. I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Randy.